Welcome into another edition of That's Deep. I'm Tommy Z, joined as always by Johnny Bravo. We've got a bit of a dumpster dive for this UFC card. Um, last week's pay per view ended in a kind of weird fashion, and we're jumping into a bit of a weird card here. We got the World Series on. Johnny's Dodgers are on right now, so try to get through this pretty quick. But Johnny, how you feeling coming into this one, and what are your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, coming off probably one of the more disappointing pay-per-views I think we've seen in a pretty long time. Pretty terrible fights all around last weekend, and then now this weekend we got a dumpster to dive in, which this card is this might be the worst card of the year. So should be
Yeah,
fun.
on paper, I think it could be, but there's always money to be made, so we're here to break it down, and let's get into it.
Go.
Our first fight of the night is in the women's strawweight division. We got Talita Alencar taking on Ariane Carnelossi. Carnelossi looks like a killer. I mean, she's got arms that most men would wish to have. Just complete, nothing but muscle on her frame. Skill wise, a little lacking. She's not good on the ground at all. But taking on Alencar here, who's got some skills. She's she can do some work on the ground, but she's another one of those fighters that you just can't put too much faith into. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Alan Carr. She's almost like a clone of Jacqueline Almarine, who we saw last week. It was just a horrible performance. Yeah, Alan Carr, she's the world-class BJJ practitioner. I mean, she wants to get it to the ground. Even though I do think she probably has better takedowns than Almarine, and she's shown her grappling a little bit better in the UFC. And the cardio is kind of but she seems to make it through fights pretty decently. The striking is not the greatest. She has little baby T-Rex arms. I think it's like a 57-inch reach. So yeah, small arms. So yeah, kind of difficult to land the strikes like that, when your reach is, you're always at a big reach disadvantage. But yeah, but Carnelossi is, like you said, she's built like with no fat on her. She's just all muscle. But takedown defense is pretty terrible. She can be taken down. It's not hard at all. We've seen her just absolutely mauled on the ground before, and yeah, Alan Carr, I guess she goes for takedowns here. Like, she should be able to get them pretty easily. Carnelossi in her last fight, I cashed a ticket on her by TKO, TKO, DQ, because she was getting absolutely smashed on the ground, and then Piera Rodriguez decided she wanted to use headbutts. So yeah, on the feet, I kind of give the advantage to Carnelossi, but it's like, how long is it going to be on the feet? I think Alan Carr probably gets takedowns here and probably just wins an easy decision.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think she probably does get the takedowns going. I'll probably be looking at the takedown props. I've been betting a lot of those in these early cards where I don't feel overly confident with the fighter at minus 200, minus 300. But yeah, I think Alan Carr is going to get it done. She probably will land some takedowns. When the fight's on the ground, she will be able to do what she wants. So you just kind of hope that she goes with that game plan. And yeah, Carnelossi, she's going to throw heavy hands and she's tough, but yeah, she's just lacking in overall skills. And Alan Carr should get it done here. Again, I'll be looking at the takedowns, potentially DFS play, but I don't really want to start off my night with a DFS play where I'm begging for takedowns and don't get them until the third round. But yeah, that's the way I see it. I think Alan Carr gets it done and hopefully gets that grappling going. All right, moving right along here. got a pretty interesting fight here in the welterweight division. We got Phil Rowe taking on Sokyeon Ko. Ko has been, pretty impressive. He's shown the ability to grapple. He's got good striking. Phil Rowe is another guy, kind of a tricky out. He does have really good jiu-jitsu. He's got some pretty decent striking. Kind of reminds me of a poor man's Neil Magny. He's going to be in most fights, but doesn't always capitalize on his opportunities. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Phil Rowe, big, long, lanky guy, decent striking, decent pop in his hands. Not the greatest takedown defense. He can be taken down, but he's a black belt, so he likes to play BJJ off his back, which is not something I really like to see in fighters who are just content on getting taken down and kind of playing BJJ off their back. He usually always starts kind of slow and then kind of picks up the pace, later on into fights, like we've seen in the Angelusa fight, where he absolutely got destroyed the first 2 rounds, and then Lusa started to kind of slow, and then Rose started landing some big shots, and was able to put him away there, which was a good comeback win. I think we were on him in that fight. I don't know. It's kind of a middle of the road kind of guy. And Sukwu, Ko, the Korean Tyson. I mean, what a performance in his last fight against Oban Elliott. He came in as a big dog and absolutely just dominated. Was able to get takedowns at will. Good, top control. Good, top game. Was able to just hold Oban down, allow him some good ground and pound, and just absolutely dominate him. Never let Oban even get in the fight or get his striking going or anything. And I mean, here I think Ko can pretty much get takedowns if he wants at will. I mean, he showed that, Ko, but Ko has been hurt before. He's been knocked out before, so the durability might be into a little bit of question. His nickname is the Korean Tyson, so he has some decent power in his hands. The striking is a little bit green, but he has power in his hands. But I think Ko should be able to get takedowns here whenever he wants. And then maybe, you can, I think he gets takedowns early and often. It's just, can Phil Rowe do a Phil Rowe and maybe take over late or land something big later or catch him in something, I'm going to pick Ko to win this probably by decision. And then maybe just watch the live line and see if, Rowe is fighting his way into the fight, and maybe you can get a good live number at a big plus money or something. But
yeah, spot on, man. I agree. I like Ko to win. I do think he probably gets the grappling going because Rowe does allow it. I mean, he's got good jiu-jitsu, so he has confidence in it. And he will lay on his back and he will accept takedowns. And he's good late in fights. We've seen him win a couple fights where, bad first round, bad round or two, come on strong as his opponent fades. So I'm not sure Ko is that type of fighter who's going to fade. I mean, he showed, pretty good cardio in that last fight. He was grappling. He was doing whatever he wanted. So I'm not sure that's the path for Rowe, but that definitely would be, we will be able to see it live if it's happening. And, we could find ourselves on a Rowe ticket. But, yeah, it's Ko for me. I think the grappling is going to work. And he does have some power. He could hurt him as well. So, yeah, I like Ko here. All right, next fight on the card is, it should be a squash match for all intents and purposes. We got Alice Ardeline taking on Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. Ruiz has 1 win in the UFC. That was her first fight, I do believe. I think she's on a 4-fight losing streak. She's basically a one-trick pony. She's got that head and arm takedown, which she loves, and it worked for her once. But really hasn't, paid off. It's been a tough run for her. Ardeline, on the other hand, she's got some pretty good volume. She can land takedowns. Overall, just, I would say a much better fighter. Again, still, we're looking at low-level women's MMA here. Pretty sizable favorite in Ardeline. What do you got here?
Yeah, and I mean, in what world is Alice Ardeline the -400 favorite. I mean, that's pretty crazy to me. I mean, she showed some good stuff in her first, couple of few UFC fights. I think I backed her against Annan, and she was in that fight. I mean, she showed some decent skills. I mean, the striking looks. So I guess it's okay, and she can grapple, I guess, if she wants, but it's nothing really too exciting about her. Like nothing that really pops out, and But I mean, she has some skills. But I mean, -400 is just. She should probably be a favorite, but -400 is pretty big. But I mean, Ruiz is just. I mean, she's probably the lowest of the low. I mean, she's been finished in her last 3 fights, so it's not a good look. All by knockout, TKOs. So like you said, she has that one thing. It's the head and arm throw, and maybe she can get on top and get that head and arm throw, get on top, and maybe steal around with some top control. But I don't know, man. This is probably just a pass altogether, and it's probably Alice. But I mean, -400. I mean, I don't know what I can do with that. I mean, maybe take a shot on a late KO or something, a late finish. But since Ruiz has been finished like the last 3 fights, but yeah, I don't know this one. I mean, the pick is going to be Alice, but I mean, I think you should. This is probably a smoke break or a bathroom break fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, Ardeline is the side here. I'll be interested to see. I don't have it yet, but the -3.5 might be a good way to look, because I do think there's a shot she gets a finish here. She does put up good volume, and Ruiz is just not very good at all. So even if she does land that head and arm throw, I mean, any fighter with any kind of skill can basically take the back off of that. It's very rare that you can hold somebody down with it for 3 rounds. It was actually shocking to see that she did that in one fight. But I think even if she gets that head and arm, yeah, I think Ardeline fights out of it and either takes her back or just gets out of the position. It's not something that you see fighters getting held with. So yeah, I like Ardeline. I'll be interested to see what the -3.5 is. I do think she has a very good chance to finish, but if she doesn't, I think she probably controls all 3 rounds of this fight, and pretty decisive win. Money line's pretty crazy, but yeah, I mean, she is fighting one of the worst to ever do it, so that's kind of what you're going to get. All right, our next fight is in the women's bantamweight division. A little bit of a skill upgrade here. We got Ketlin Vieira taking on Norma Dumont. These two have been around a little while. Both got pretty good size, both pretty tough. Pretty interesting matchup here. I think they both have very good skills. Vieira, I mean, she's fought at the very top of they both have fought at the very top of the division. Pretty close, competitive one. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's my girl Norma coming back. Big booty Norma, one of my favorites. She's on a nice run here. I mean, I was really impressed with her in her last fight, the Aldana fight. It's been a while. It's crazy. It's almost been like almost a year and a couple months since she last got in there. I'm not sure why the layoff. Maybe hard time getting fights, or maybe she was trying to get a title shot. I'm not too sure, because she's on a nice run here, a nice 5-fight winning streak. Maybe not some of the highest level of competition. Chelsea Chandler, Danielle Wolf. But I was impressed with the Carol Hosa fight. Jermaine Durandamy pretty much just took her down and didn't really do much damage. Kind of just controlled her there. Durandamy was kind of content to just stay on her back in that fight, and she just used the top control. We used to think of Norma kind of more of a wrestler than a real a striker. But I mean, she's kind of evolved her game and kind of turned into more of a kind of a good all-around, fighter. I mean, she really impressed me in the Aldana fight. The boxing was crisp. The combinations to the body, to the head, was good. She wasn't able to get takedowns, but Aldana's, takedown defense is pretty decent. But yeah, the way she just was able to outstrike her in the volume she landed, she threw almost like 300 strikes, landed 150. Good volume. She looked really good in that fight. And Caitlin Vieira is another one who she's a pretty, I mean, in her last fight, I don't even know how much to give her credit in the last fight because, I mean, she got the win, but I mean, Macy Chiasson just had like absolutely no great game plan or kind of instinct to even want to try to win that fight. But she got the job done, and it was a dominant 30-27 win. In the Kayla Harrison fight, she showed some fight in that fight. Kayla wasn't just able to just take her down and dominate her like everybody thought she was. Showed some good takedown defense, was able to keep it on the feet, had a few moments of her own. Probably, one of Kayla's tougher fights you've seen, besides like the Pacheco fights. So yeah, that was a good showing, and yeah, she's really hard to take down. So I see this primarily playing out on the feet. It's probably a close fight, but I'm going to go with Norma here I like the improvements in her game and the striking and the volume. Caitlin Vieira, she can be kind of low volume at times. So I like the pace and the volume that, if Norma comes in with the same game plan that she did against Aldana, I think she's able to sneak this one out and maybe a split. But yeah, I think she wins a decision here.
Yeah, I kind of like Norma as well. She does tend to have a little bit more volume. This is a very close fight, but I do like her volume. I do feel like she's improving fight to fight, and yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be back and forth, but I think the volume at the end of the day is going to probably be the difference, and I think she'll be the more active of the two. So yeah, give me Dumas here. All right, our next fight is we'll see if this one happens. We got a middleweight bout between Dante Johnson and Cedric Dumas. Dumas, I mean, this guy he's a nightmare. I mean, he hasn't made it to fights because of his probation. Not the most skilled fighter in the world. He's got some skills. I mean, he's a decent striker and he can grapple. But just hasn't really shown a very high level in the UFC. I'm just not a fan. Taking on Johnson here, making his debut. He's got some pretty good boxing. Sneaky inside strikes. My thoughts here. What do you got for this one?
Yeah, I was kind of high on Dumas, like I said before, coming into the UFC. The regional scene, he showed some decent power and some kind of lengthy, like unique striking, kickboxing. But, coming here into the UFC, he just hasn't been able to put it all together. A lot of trouble in his personal life, a lot of bullshit, and just terrible, boring performances in the cage. He can grapple, I guess, if he wants. I mean, he's long, so he can, the striking is just so low volume, hasn't really shown any kind of power here in the UFC. Just hasn't been able to put it all together and just doesn't look great, just not very good. And, Dante Johnson it's an interesting guy. He was on the Contender Series. He's dropping down to middleweight here, dropping down to 185. And, he made his, he was on the Contender Series. He fought at heavyweight, but he barely made, like, the heavyweight limit. So, he's cutting down here to 185. This guy is an athletic guy. He used to be a football player, I believe. And, he doesn't waste time in getting guys out of there. I don't think none of his fights have gotten out of the first round. He goes in there. He's got big power. He looks to hit you, and he tries to put you out with everything he's got. He's got big power. So, yeah, he's probably just going to go in there and like try to blitz Dumas and probably try to get out of him. They get him out of there. But the interesting thing is, what if Dumas can keep his distance and kind of extend him? How is he going to look if the fight gets extended? And what if Dumas is able to get takedowns and kind of drag this into deeper waters? Because Dumas is the more experienced fighter. Johnson, I believe, only has 6 fights on his record. So, I think Johnson probably goes in there and starches him. But, if Dumas can extend it and maybe just, like, take him down and lay on top of him for 5 minutes or something like that. Maybe zap some of the energy, then maybe he extends it. Maybe he can win. But I see Johnson going in there and just starching him. But don't love the price on it. It's like minus 160, minus 180. I think last time I saw for the knockout. So yeah, you're not getting a good price on it.
Yeah, it's a tough one to bet. I mean, I think he probably does go out there and get the job done like that, but I mean, you never really know. I mean, Dumas is a tough guy. He's, we've seen him fight 3 rounds in the UFC a few times. He does have some skills, and there's a possibility this fight goes late. He looks like the better fighter. So this is one I'm just going to let it ride until the fight happens, and we'll see. Maybe maybe Dumas comes on strong late and finds a way to get a win, but yeah, I mean, I don't have too much confidence in the guy. But yeah, I just don't see him winning many fights in the UFC. So, it is what it is, but could be a live spot. So we'll see. I probably won't have any bets going into it and see how it plays out after the first round. All right. Our next fight is in the bantamweight division. We got Timmy Kwamba taking on Chang Ho Lee. Pretty, interesting matchup here. Kwamba's had, a bit of a rough run so far to start his UFC career, but he's shown some stuff in the fights that he's been in, and he's a pretty skilled guy. Chang Ho Lee. I don't even remember my breakdown on this guy, so I'll turn this one over to you because I can't remember what I had for him.
Yeah, Timmy Kwamba. I mean, kind of he's a pretty decent striker, technical kickboxer. Not the highest the volume kind of guy. Yeah, he wants he's going to want a technical kickboxing match and want to keep it on the feet. He's had some decent performances. He came in on short notice against Oki. He had a decent performance in that losing fight. I don't think it was. I think it was a split, but I don't think it was a split at all. But he had a decent performance in that fight, and just hasn't really Roberto Romero in his last fight. I was kind of high on Romero, and he just didn't show up in that fight, and Kwamba was able to get the win there, and yeah, just Lucas Almeida fight. I was on Almeida in that fight. He lost that fight. That wasn't the greatest showing. Yeah, and then he's okay. He's an okay guy. Just he doesn't blow your mind or anything like that. It's just he's a technical kickboxer, low volume striker, and Chang Ho Lee is I believe his nickname is the Korean Khabib. So yeah, this guy the striking is kind of green. He's one of these road to the UFC guys. So, I mean, the striking is green. It's not the greatest on the feet, but he's relentless with takedowns. He's going to want to get you down to the ground, and he has some good ground and pound. He destroyed Contavious Romeus in his last fight, which was pretty impressive. I thought Romeus was, put a better showing for himself, but he got absolutely mauled and destroyed. Yeah, Chang Ho Lee's going to want to go in and get takedowns and wrestle, and he's got good cardio. He could do it for 15 minutes. So yeah, this is kind of a striker versus grappler, fight. So it's who's going to be able to get their game plan off. Kwamba, I guess he has okay takedown defense, but I don't know. I just think Chang Ho Lee is probably going to be relentless and be able to get takedowns at the right times, and yeah, land some ground and pound and probably win the decision. But yeah, pick for me is Lee.
Yeah, that makes sense. I now that we're talking about it, I do remember he is a big takedown guy, and yeah, Kwamba's a guy. I mean, he's tough. He's
yeah, he's skilled. He's skilled striker, but just
he's got some skills.
He
seems like he might be better than what his record shows. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's going to be a matter of, is he able to stuff the takedowns? If he is, he's live in this fight, and if he doesn't,
if he stuffs takedowns and this is on the feet, then he's going to probably win easily.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be a striker versus grappler, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, this one, I mean, I'm up in the air because like I said, I totally forgot anything I had on this kid. So this is one I'm going to look into a little bit deeper. But I think you're right. I think the grappling might be the way to go here. All right, our next fight is in the light heavyweight division. We got Billy Alancana taking on Kevin Christensen. Here's another one, man. Like, I don't know. Alancana got a win in his last fight. It was very, very low volume affair. You know, nothing too impressive. Christensen coming in off the Contender Series, got some power. My screen just froze here. But again, I mean, this is one of those light heavyweight matchups where, I mean, tough for me to really have any confidence either way. But what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Kevin Christian is probably one of the worst signings to come in from the Contender Series. This guy is absolutely terrible. I mean, the striking is shit. He's fucking low volume. The cardio sucks. I mean, the guy's takedown defense, a gust of wind can take this guy down. But the thing he does have, I mean, he's got good submission. So, I mean, he's long. He's 6'7". So he's a giant guy with no skills, and like he can probably luck box into a sub and maybe catch you in a triangle. That's about all his skill set. That's how he pretty much got into the UFC. It was pretty much, he got absolutely taken down and pummeled, and then the other guy gassed, and he was able to lock up a triangle while the other guy was gassed, and he was gassed as well. So yeah, this guy is absolutely terrible. I couldn't wait for this guy to come into this is one of the guys I had wrote down to fade when he comes into the UFC. It's been almost a year since he last fought, so I don't know why it took him so long to get a fight book, but yeah, I've been waiting to fade this guy, but then they come in and they give him fucking Billy Alancana, who is, I mean, isn't the greatest. I mean, I guess he's a decent striker, but I mean, he's just so low volume. So this is going to be two low volume strikers going at it. I mean, Alancana could probably easily get takedowns, but I don't see him, going that route. That's not really his game. He has shown some of that in the Guskov fight, but I mean, I guess he can go for takedowns here and get him pretty easily, but he'd have to be careful because this bum is long and he can always lock something up with his long legs. So yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be one of the most terrible fights on the card. It's probably going to be a 15-minute staring match with Alancana landing like 35 strikes the whole fight, and Kike, yes, and yeah, so yeah, give me Alancana, but minus 250. Don't feel excited about this fight. So yeah, I wanted somebody better to fade Christian with, but
yeah, I hear you. I like Alancana too, just for basically all the same reasons you said. I mean, coming in, like, yeah, he can find something. He's a big dude. I mean, he can land something big. But Alancana, I mean, he's shown that at least he can, kind of hang in there for 3 rounds and, kind of dictate a fight. Again, he hasn't fought the highest level of competition either, but, he has shown a little bit at the UFC level, and a fight like this, that might be all it takes. Just kind of bide your time. Don't do anything stupid. Wear on the cardio and get the dub. Not a fight I'll be betting. Just because, I mean, it's just, I just don't want to have my money involved with Billy Alancana at this point. I mean, I guess we'll see if there's a live opening, but going into it, yeah, I'll just hang back. All right, moving right along here. Our next fight is in the it's a catchweight fight. Oh yeah, because this is a short notice fight. We got Alan Nascimento taking on Cody Durden. Nascimento was originally booked. I forget who his opponent was supposed to be. It was going to be a pretty competitive fight. But we got Cody Durden coming in. Junkyard dog. He's the definition of it. Starts fast, heavy grappling, cardio not the greatest. Definitely takes a lot of damage. Nascimento, great grappler. Very low volume. he's had some impressive wins in the UFC. He's had a decent run. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Nascimento was supposed to fight. Who's that guy that's a wrestler that always gasses? Fucking
I don't know why I can't think of the
always
name.
misses weight. He always misses weight. He always gasses. He's pretty much just like a wrestler. He fought. Did he fought Fialo in his last fight? Or I'm not. I forgot, but yeah, I mean Nascimento, pretty decent, well-rounded guy. Not the greatest of striking, um, but he's okay on the feet. He can hold his own on the feet. The grappling is where he wants to get it down to. He wants to get it down to the mat. He wants to get his submissions really slick, good submissions, really good finishing instinct on the ground. Maybe not the greatest of wrestlers, but I mean, if he gets taken down, then he can easily sweep and find his way to the back pretty easily. Yeah, I mean, and then Cody Durden. He's kind of one of these guys. He's a tough out. He's a kind of one of these junkyard dogs. He's a wrestle boxer. He's a good wrestler if he needs it. He's got decent hands, but one thing you always question is that durability. That chin can always get cracked. We've seen it before where he's winning a fight and he absolutely gets snooped, like in the Josh Van. No, what fight was it? Bruno Silva fight. The Bruno Silva fight where he was doing work in the first like 7.5 minutes and then absolutely just fell apart, got cracked, and put to sleep. Took an absolute beating in the Van fight. I mean, I don't know how that fight wasn't stopped. I mean, he took a bludgeoning in that fight. Ochoa, I mean, absolutely just sent him to Jupiter. Just planted him. It's a tough, kind of a tough stretch for Cody Durden. I mean, I guess where he wins this fight is probably keeping it on the feet and just boxing them up. I don't know. It's short notice. Cody Durden's always a guy really who raises his hand and jump in on short notice. It's just, I don't know, man. I just think Nascimento is a really skilled grappler, and at any moment, if he gets the back or if he gets him down, we've seen Durden sub before many times. The submission defense is not great for Durden, and if this guy gets on your back or if he gets on top of you and mounts you or something, then I think Durden's pretty much done. The submission defense is absolutely terrible. I mean, Durden's path here is to just kind of, sprawl and brawl and maybe, just win like a striking advantage, keep it on striking match on the feet. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Nascimento by sub. I like Nascimento here. He was the one preparing for a fight. And, I like Nascimento by sub.
Yeah, same. I think he finishes, and more than likely it's by sub. Yeah, I just think Durden comes out fast and usually fades, and it leads to him taking some pretty bad beatings and losing fights inside the distance, and coming in here on short notice. I'm not sure if he had a fight booked. No,
I don't think so.
Date, but he's done this before. He's a guy that comes in and fights on short notice. He's tough. He's a fighter. He's a scrapper. So he's willing to take chances, but it's not really great for the MMA career. And a guy that takes the type of damage that he takes and that tends to slow down in fights, not ideal. And against a guy that's going to be, a strong grappler who's very good at controlling, not really a recipe for success. So yeah, I like Nascimento here. I think he finds a finish, and yeah, it's more than likely by sub. All right, our next fight is another great one here. We got Charles Radke taking on Daniel Frunza, welterweight bout. Radke's a guy that I've had high hopes for. I mean, he's got some pretty big power. He's aggressive. He's shown some things in the past, but man, he's been stopped a couple times. Not the greatest of looks against some tough guys, but yeah, he kind of leaves himself open a little bit. But he's taking on Daniel Frunza, who is another guy that's got some skills, but just rough look in the Reese McKee fight. not super high on this guy overall. I mean, Radke, I think at his best is probably, is probably winning this fight more times than not. But again, it's tough to really trust him. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I see this fight being pretty much like a car crash. I mean, these are two guys that want to stand in there and trade. Yeah, Rocky, he's decent striker. He's got power in his hands. He's kind of maybe doesn't have the greatest durability or chin. So can be clipped and put away. We've seen that before. He's been hurt, like in the Malak fight and in the Prochez fight. Yeah, the Prochez. I get it, but he was hurt to the body there and just got nuked. And then Malak just had high hopes for him in the Malak fight, and he showed absolutely nothing and got absolutely beat down. But he shows sometimes, he's got, some decent, pop in his hands, some striking. And, Frunza is a guy like, this guy is kind of like pure chaos when he goes in there. He's going to want to stand in the pocket, bite down, and throw big power shots. The takedown defense is absolutely terrible. I mean, if Radke wants takedowns, I think Radke can probably get takedowns here at will if he wants. Yeah, and then it's the chin. The chin is a big question for Frunza. We've seen in the Reese McKee fight, he took a lot of damage in that fight, got dropped a few times, got hurt. It seems like Frunza in every single fight, even on this Contender Series fight, he got dropped and hurt, and then he got absolutely dominated in the first round of that fight, and then old boy kind of gassed in that one, and then he just kind of was able to take over and just get the finish there, left box into a finish, Yeah, I mean, this is just going to be two guys that are going to stand there and bang pretty much, I think. So should be an entertaining one to watch. Should get a knockout in this one. Yeah, I don't know. It worries me. I mean, Radke's durability, we've seen it in question before, both these guys' durability. So I think it's probably going to be whoever lands that first big shot and can find that knockout blow. I've questioned both guys' durability, but I'm going to lean with Radke to be able to get the job done here just by the slight edge. Just because Frunza's just been hurt in so many of his fights, and the chin is just there's no chin. So yeah, I like Radke here. Not a lot, but I mean, I think there's violence here. I think unders is a look. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I mean, I think Radke wins this fight more times than not. He's got some decent speed. He's got some decent power. And, yeah, I just think overall he's probably the better fighter. So I like Radke to get it done. Definitely like the unders look in this fight if, fight doesn't go type stuff. But, yeah, Radke's the pick for me. All right, we move along. We've got a pretty good one here, actually. We got a featherweight bout, Isaac Dulgarian taking on Yair Duval. Dulgarian is a guy, another one of those guys that comes out guns blazing. Very, very good grappler, very strong takedowns, dangerous submissions. But, we've seen his cardio fail him in his debut. I actually thought he looked like he was slowing down a little bit in his last fight. He was a massive favorite in that one, and came out and pretty much dominated the kid. But even the end of the end of the first round, he kind of just was laying on him, not really doing a ton. Then he gets the takedown in the second round and finds a finish. So not really sure what to take out of that. And you got Yair Duval, who's he's a pretty decent, well-rounded fighter. He's good striking, loves the elbows. Loves to work the body. He's got some grappling. We saw him on the Contender Series. He had, a great round, just dominating. Looked like he was going to find a finish, and his opponent just hung in there. So, he saw his cardio fall off a little bit in that fight, but he was able to, fight through it and find a finish, or not find a finish, but get to the end and get the win. So this one's interesting to me because I'm curious to see if Duval gives him a little resistance, what Dulgarian's going to look like later in this fight, if it gets later. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because Dulgarian is, like you said, he comes out. He's got really strong wrestling. He's going to get the takedowns early. That's That's not a question. He's gonna win the first round. He's gonna get takedowns. He's gonna dominate the first round probably. But it's just, how does that cardio hold up? Is he able to consistently do that for 3 rounds? I don't know. There's big question marks around you. I was high on the as a prospect, and that Rodriguez fight. It kind of let me down in that fight where I thought he probably won round 1 and 2, but it was super close. And if you give a split to Rodriguez, I can't really argue, because he got absolutely dominated in that third round. It could have been a 10-8 round in that third one. So yeah, his cardio absolutely fell off a cliff. And then he came back, he got the finish, but he's been off a while now. Maybe he's made improvements in that cardio, but he just goes out so fast, and he goes all out to try to get that round 1 finish. And if he doesn't get it, how's he gonna look? And Del Valle, he's pretty decently well-rounded guy. He's got good volume, good striking. I like both of these guys, to be honest. And yeah, Del Valle, I cashed on him in his UFC debut. He pulled that gilly, and that's what he likes to do. That's one of his signature moves, and that's why I bet him by sub, is that he'll pull that gilly. He'll jump it. He doesn't have a problem jumping it. He's good at it. But I think that could be kind of a disadvantage to him here if he's trying to pull that gilly, and then Delgarian's able to just get on top and just able to land ground and pound and kind of just control him on the ground. That's kind of what I see Delgarian doing. This could be another one, a good live betting opportunity if you see Delgarian slowing down and maybe the takedowns aren't coming as easy in the second round, that you maybe jump on Del Valle live, and he could be live here, but ultimately I think Delgarian probably gets takedowns and probably edges out a close decision, or maybe not a close decision, but he probably gets a pretty decent decision here. I like Delgarian, but yeah, I think Del Valle, he's live. I think he's live, but yeah, give me Delgarian.
Yeah, I think he's live too. I think the line's a little bit too wide. But like you said, I don't know if if you like Del Valle here, if you need to bet him pre-flop, because there's a very high likelihood he loses the first round. It's probably like 80% chance he loses that first round, maybe more.
Unless he jumps to gilly.
Yeah, unless he catches him with something, or Delgarian has a great first 3 minutes and then starts to fade, and then he catches the gilly, he can hurt him with something. But outside of that, you're probably going to get a good number going into the second round on Del Valle. I like Del Valle here. I think he can win this fight, and I think he will. I don't trust Delgarian's cardio. I really, watching his last fight, that kid had no business being in the octagon with him, and he did great. He was beating him up, and he looked amazing. But man, the last minute and a half of that first round, you could kind of see he was just kind of hanging out. He was trying to get his breath a little bit, and then the kid comes out next round, throws a flying knee. He gets another easy takedown, and that's a wrap. But I think Del Valle is just a much tougher guy. I think he's going to offer resistance. I know I've seen him get tired in fights and fight hard for all 3 rounds. So, yeah, I think Del Valle is very live in this one. I'm going to take him as a dog here. But like I said, no need to bet him early. You could wait. More than likely you're probably going to get a better number if you wait. But yeah, I think he's live here. I think he can get it done.
Yeah, I like him, but I just think the wrestling is going to be a little too much.
Delgarian is. If Delgarian,
both guys could kind of gas,
yeah,
and then it's just be a slop fest.
Yeah, no, you're right. It could definitely be that, because it's going to be high volume early, because that's just how Delgarian is. So, they're actually both pretty high volume early. So, yeah, it could be. But we'll move along here. We've got a welterweight bout between Jeremiah Wells and Temba Garembo. Wells has, his recent run has not been the greatest in the UFC, but Temba getting dropped and finished by Luque is also not a great look at this point in time. So, Temba, he wants to come out and he wants to grapple. Jeremiah Wells, he's got some grappling. He comes from a wrestling camp. He's a pretty wild dude. He throws heavy hands. He's out of control at times. We've seen him crash into the cage. Just, I don't even know what he was doing in that Blood Diamond fight. So he's kind of a wild man out there. Yeah, and Temba, looking for those takedowns. That's kind of his path. He's a bit sloppy on the feet. But, it's a bit of a car crash fight here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Themba is, I don't know, he's kind of like the UFC just try to get this guy wins and I think layups. He's backed by The Rock. He had a great story, behind him, how he came over, he's fighting for his family and all that. And, Rock bought him a house and brought his family over from Africa where he was at. So, there's a great backstory behind it, but, he's still green and doesn't really have all the skills. The striking is really, not the greatest. He wants to get in the clinch, use some elbows, use some knees to the body. The distance striking is not the greatest. But yeah, like you said, he's going to want to grapple. He's going to want to get on top and wrestle. That's primarily what he wants to do. It's just, it wasn't a great look, like you said, in the Luque fight. We've seen Luque's kind of washed, and Luque went out there and just ran through him and got the darts in there and locked it up and pretty dispatched of him pretty easily there. Jeremiah Wells he's an interesting guy. He's got a lot of skills. He's got some okay striking, but they're big looping shots, big power shots. We've seen the Court McGee fight. Court McGee is a pretty durable guy, and he absolutely flatlined and put Court McGee to sleep. So he's got good power in his hands. It's the cardio. The wrestling and the BJJ is really good. He could lock something up here, I think. He's got a really good submission game, and he's got some grappling. He can go to. He can get takedowns himself, I think. It's just the cardio kind of falls off late in the fight. It kind of starts off good. He'll probably win the first 7 minutes of the fight, and then just drop off the hill. He's just inconsistent, man. It's the inconsistency of this guy. This is a tough one for me to pick, but I don't know if I can get to Themba as like a minus 150, minus 140 favorite.
Yeah,
there's just too many, just too flaky for me, just too green, and I don't know. Wells has big power in his hands, and I could see him catching Themba and knocking him out if it's on the feet. I think, yeah, I'm gonna lean with Wells here to find that big shot and probably knock out Themba. So I'm gonna lean that way, but with low confidence. Not a lot of confidence in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I have some decent confidence that he's going to do it. I think he's a really bad matchup for Themba. The power is definitely there. Themba on the feet, he can throw some decent strikes, but he is pretty sloppy. Does leave himself open. Don't think he's got the greatest chin. Luque just dropped him and then he was sleeping, in the Darce or the Anaconda, whichever one that was. But yeah, that was a terrible, terrible look. And there's been fights where, he's got the grappling going and kind of just like holding guys down. And I just think Wells is just a bad matchup. I think his grappling's good and he's going to scramble a lot. And he is a guy that definitely gets tired. But, we've seen him hurt in fights too, where he's getting dropped and rocked and he's able to wrestle for 3 rounds. So, all in all, like skill for skill, I think Wells just has the skills, and his explosive starts are very dangerous for a guy like Themba. And yeah, I think Wells gets it done. He can be a bit flaky at times, but I just feel like this is kind of a good matchup for him, and I feel like he gets it done as a dog. All right, we move on to our co-main event of the evening in the heavyweight division. The always exciting Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Ante Delija. D'Elia trains with Tom Aspinall, so he was a big part of his fight camp. And Cortez Acosta is a guy that I have not been a big fan of, but he does seem to put wins together. He does have some good boxing. He's able to dictate fights, but I don't think he's the greatest. His win record is good, but I think at some point it's gonna come to an end. D'Elia, he's got great power. He's fast. He's explosive. He's a big dude. These guys will be pretty close in size, I think. I'm interested to see them face off. But yeah, it's probably a striker's delight here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. Waldo Cortez Acosta, maybe not the most exciting guy. He's kind of one of these technical kickboxers. He's kind of, he's going to want to use his jab, pop his jab, stay on the outside, stay at his range, and just use his boxing. Really good technical kickboxer. Doesn't have the greatest power, I don't think. But I mean, he's got some decent, fight IQ. I mean, like in the Despain fight, he knew pretty much Despain had no, his wrestling is not great, Waldo, but he knew if he could easily take down Despain and win that fight. So you like to see that kind of fight IQ. And he's just shown he's just able to win fights and uses his IQ and his boxing and his technical skills. The Pavlovich fight in his last fight, I mean, wasn't the greatest of showings. I mean, but Sergey hit him with some big shots, and he didn't go away. He was able to absorb those big power shots. It's pretty durable guy. He's got a good chin. It's hard to put away. Technical guy, good. I mean, decent guy. Doesn't have the greatest power, but yeah, he's okay. And D'Elia kind of, we've seen him. He ran through, Tybura in his last fight, in his debut in the UFC. We know him from the PFL. We've seen him many a times fighting the PFL. He's a pretty good boxer. He has some wrestling if he needs it. He's got pop in his hands. Just kind of questionable cardio. He kind of seems, if you watch back some of his fights in the PFL against some lower level guys, he kind of seems to, kind of slow down a bit in some of those fights, which is not something you like to see. This is a kind of interesting, kind of big, lumbering, heavyweight fight. I mean, I see this probably going the distance. I mean, I think Cortez Acosta by decision is a pretty good look here. I mean, I don't know. I don't see anybody going out here. I see this kind of like a technical, big, heavyweight striking affair, kind of like the Pavlovich fight was the last time. But I think Waldo's able to get the jump and pump the jab out and probably edge out a 29-28 decision. Give me Waldo here by decision at a decent number.
I agree. I mean, I think it goes over. I think if it is a finish, D'Elia is probably the one.
D'Elia probably knocks him out. Yeah, I think if it's a finish, D'Elia probably catches him with something big. Yeah, agree.
And that would probably be pretty early in the fight. I think if it goes long, I mean, that's the thing. Cortez Acosta, he's shown that he can take some shots. He has shown he has a good fight IQ. Not the most exciting guy in the world, but he knows how to win fights at the heavyweight division. You could be like Walter Walker and heel hook guys. That's an easy way to win at the heavyweight division. Or you can, stand and just be technical. And, it's worked for him. And, Pavlovich obviously feels like the aura has gone away from him a little bit since, the Tom Aspinall bludgeoning. But, he's still a good, tough fighter, and he still has power. And, Cortez Acosta to be able to go to a decision with him is, that's something. That's definitely saying something. So, similar kind of style here with D'Elia, who's got, he's pretty fast and he's got some pretty good power. He'd probably have to catch him with something big earlier, or Cortez Acosta finds his way to another decision here. So, yeah, I have to agree. I think Cortez Acosta probably gets it done. I've gone back and forth on this one. But yeah, I think the more I look at it, the more it feels like Cortez Acosta can just find a way to be smart and work that jab and put the volume up. All right, that brings us to our main event. It's actually it's a fun main event. It's not the greatest of cards on paper, but Steve Garcia is always exciting. David Onama is always exciting. Featherweight bout here. Both guys, we've seen both guys hurt. Both guys can be hurt, but both guys can also crack. Pretty well rounded. They're both on a pretty nice little run here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this should be an interesting one. This should be violence. I'm assuming all Steve Garcia fights are pretty much violence. Was kind of given up on Steve Garcia. We've seen him, before, this little run. He was getting, his chin real questionable, like durability was getting absolutely blitzed. I mean, Machate absolutely was able to starch him and get him out of there, and then. Just some other, like, not the greatest looks, like Charlie Ontiveros was able to drop him a few times. And, yeah, I was kind of out on this guy. But then, it's kind of his turning point was kind of that Chase Hooper fight where he just absolutely just nuked Chase Hooper out of there, starched him. And then he's kind of went on this run where he's just absolutely just getting guys out of there in the first round, just nuking guys. It's been a pretty decent run he's been on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's looked good. I mean, the striking looks good. I mean, he's not really getting hurt in fights anymore. But there's always that question about that chin. That you could always have. But he's put together a solid run. He's a good boxer, good striking. Pretty decently well rounded. He's pretty good. He's on a good run here. And Onama's another guy. He's a guy who's got, he's a good striker. He's got power in his hands. I think he probably has a little bit more grappling chops here than Garcia. He can get the grappling going. We've seen him before, but it's just his cardio. Sometimes at points can kind of let him down, and he kind of like seems like super tired in fights. But even when he's tired, he's still in there in the pocket throwing bombs. He doesn't go away even if he is tired. That's what I've noticed. He kind of seems to be able to fight through the tiredness, even though he looks dead gas. Yeah, this should be an entertaining one for as long as it lasts. I mean, these guys are probably going to stand in the pocket and trade big bombs, and whoever goes down first is probably gets their hand raised here. Yeah, I'm going to lean with Garcia here. I'm going to go with Garcia to get this fight done and probably and catch the chin of Onama probably in the second round. I'm going to go with the Garcia second round knockout on Onama.
Nice. Yeah, I like Garcia here too. I think he finds the button. Onama, very tough. He can take a good shot. We have seen him hurt in the past, and he does kind of leave himself open. He does have good striking, but he does leave himself open a little bit. And I just think Garcia's power, if he lands on you, it's a real problem. I mean, this kid's got real power in his hands. And, he showed in that Calvin Kattar fight, he's not just front loaded. I mean, he basically worked Calvin Kattar over for 3 rounds. And that was actually, or was it 5 rounds? I think it was a 3 round.
No, it was 3 rounds. Yeah, that's another interesting point here is neither of these guys have been in like 5-round fights.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's an interesting aspect of the fight. If it gets extended, what does it look like?
Yeah, that will be interesting to see. I mean, but I was pretty impressed with Garcia. I figured if that fight with Kattar did go long, and that's one thing about Kattar, he's definitely slowing down in his career, and he's, on the back 9, but he still is tough, and he's still tough to put away. And I wondered if Garcia was going to, start fast and fade, and Kattar was going to come on, but he just never let up in that fight. He was, in control the whole time. It was pretty impressive. Yeah, so I mean, I think I love watching both these guys. I've bet on these guys a lot. I've been a big fan of Onama since he joined the UFC. And, he's always in good fights. They're both always in super exciting fights. And I expect the same here. It's going to be fireworks. But I do think Garcia finds the chin and puts him away at some point. All right, that's it. We're going to get back to watching this World Series game here. Tomorrow night, the boys will be live for Thursday Night Football. So tune into that, NTH Sports Picks. And then, of course, all weekend long, we've got the NASCAR Championship weekend. So we'll have a lot of action going there. And, of course, college football, NFL, and the UFC. So channel will be live for pretty much the remainder of the weekend. Tune in, give us a like, give us a share. And, I guess, Johnny, if you got anything else for us, let us know. Otherwise, we'll get out of here.
No, that's it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you this weekend. Good luck with your bets. We're out.
Laters.